Guys, I hear people over the years say these rappers are not about anything. Their lyrics are not what I would listen to, etc. Now I'm looking at 50 Cent, for instance. He is a man who came from humble beginnings and pulled himself up from the bootstrap to make something of his life. And I think he's expecting his son to do the same. Not like how he did it with just being out there on the streets and hustling, but at least getting his own company, starting a business, working. Hell, it doesn't matter where he works, but just as long as he put in some work and not to put his hand out every time he needs something. That's not building that character as a man. But I don't think his son understood that because he was young at the time. So I got to, again, go back to the mother and blame the mother for not guiding him. Because if you have a young son and his father is a millionaire and his father wants to set him up in business and to pave the way, he's going to fund the project. He bought all the sneakers that he could buy. He's going to set him up in business, this sneaker business online. All he has to do is manage it and bring the money in. But he couldn't even do that. Why? Because his mother dissuaded him. She wanted to do something else. She convinced this young child that that's what she wanted to do. And so she called 50 up and said, listen, Marquise and I decided to do something else. How can he decide to do something else and he's still a child? Or was a child at the time. The mother was supposed to be guiding him. So the mother dropped the ball. And Marquez is still looking for a handout, still blaming 50 for not giving enough child support, blaming him for not contributing enough to get him started, when all along Marquez knows that his father tried to set him up in a sneaker business, which he did not jump at because he was dissuaded by the mother to go into something else. So how can you now hate 50? I'm telling you, people, you make the child, but you don't make the mind. And when you as a parent know that you have done all that you can, that you have turned over rocks and stones, and you have crossed your I's and dotted your T's just to get your child on the right track, and they're still not on the right track, not because of you, but because of them. They're the knuckleheads, okay? You've done all you can. You just got to leave it to God and leave them alone. Let them sort it out for themselves. You got to take that hard road because no matter how hard you try, they're still going to be blaming you. You're never going to be doing enough. Like now, Marquez and 50 Cent is in this strained relationship. I totally get it. 50 wants so much for his son. He wants him to know what it is to work as a man. Okay, you see millionaires out there whose children working on ranches. The queen, her family, don't sit on their behinds. They put in the work. They do charity work all over the world in order to get that check. Everybody got a job. Everybody that's getting a check got to work in some capacity. Now Marquez was going to have it easy. His father bought all these sneakers to set him up in business, his online sneaker business. He didn't jump at it. It would have been easy as pie. I wish someone would set me up like that. I would be so humbled. So I think 50 is doing the right thing. Sometimes you got to, in order to push that child into the direction of becoming a man or a woman, you got to be hard. A lot of people are going to say, oh, you're being too hard. No, it's not being too hard. Tough love is never being too hard. It's just trying to set that young person in a direction that's going to make them better later on in life. There's an old saying, hate me now, love me later. And so I totally agree with 50. Here's what he has to say on the subject about his son Marquez.
He's been given every advantage in the world, far beyond most kids born in the ghetto. But he still feels like he's been somehow cheated or robbed by me. It's a scenario I never imagined I'd find myself in with my firstborn child. But here we are.
I hear it all the time. A parent does so much for that child, and that child is so ungrateful that they scratch their head. They're left scratching their head. What did I do wrong? Why is this child not receptive to all the help that I'm giving this child? And I'm telling you guys, you make the child, you don't make the mind. Sometimes no matter what you do, it's never enough, because that child just, I'm going to put it blunt, that child just hates your guts. And they don't even know why. But in this case, I can clearly see where the mother was the instrument in this child hating his father.
Entitlement creates resentment. There have been a lot of disappointing moments in my relationship with Marquise over the past few years. But the lowest was when I saw him post a picture of himself with Kyle McGriff, the son of Kenneth Supreme McGriff. Without rehashing too much bad history, Kenneth McGriff was one of the biggest drug dealers in Queens, and the man the authorities believe was behind the attempt on my life.
I think any parent would be disappointed if someone tries to kill you and later on in life your child is rubbing elbows with a person's child. Then that would be a great disappointment for any parent.
So by posing with his son, Marquise was basically co-signing an individual who might have tried to have his father killed. I had known Marquise resented me for a while, but I never imagined he would hate me so much that he'd allow himself to be used as a prop by my enemy.
But I'm going to tell you guys, 50 is not the only person in this predicament, okay? There are a lot of folks out there who has very, very ungrateful children, and they come from the best of homes, and nothing was done to them for them to be so ungrateful. Sometimes I wonder if these kids are born into the world just evil as hell.
Someone recently sent me a quote from Benjamin Franklin that really resonated with me. Franklin's son had sided with the British in the Revolutionary War, despite the fact that his father was one of the leaders of the revolution. It messed with Ben Franklin for the rest of his life. He wrote, "Nothing has ever hurt me so much and affected me with such keen sensation as to find myself deserted in my old age by my only son, and not only deserted, but to find him taking up arms against me, in a cause wherein my good fame, fortune, and life were all at stake." Marquise might not have been literally taking up arms against me, but he was standing next to the son of someone who might have. I could recognize Franklin's pain. I spent a lot of time searching my soul, trying to understand what could make a son forsake his father like that. I've tried to put myself in Marquise's shoes. Just as he doesn't know what it's like to grow up under the circumstances I did, I don't know what it was like to grow up as the son of 50 Cent. Certainly on the surface, he had everything he wanted. But there must have been pressures and insecurities from being my son that I can't identify with. I accept that. I still can't see how those pressures and insecurities will force a child to go against his own father, especially a father who has provided everything for him. As I go over our relationship in my mind, the only answer that I can come up with is that I actually might have done too much for Marquise. How do you make a privileged child feel deprived or angry? I guess by getting him whatever he wants. Like many kids from his generation, Marquise has always been into sneakers. Because he's my son, he couldn't just rock any old sneakers either. If a new pair of Jordans came out, he had to have them right away. If Marquise asked for a pair of Jordans on Monday, his mother would make sure they were on his feet by Tuesday. It still didn't make him happy. Instead of being excited to rock his new pair of Jordans, all Marquise could think about was all of the retro Jordans he didn't have, all the different flyaways and colors that weren't in his closet. When he should have felt gratification, all he really felt was disappointment. I could not relate. The kid didn't have a job, but somehow wanted to collect $300 sneakers, and then still felt unhappy when he actually got them? His entire mindset was alien to me. I have to believe his mother was behind his disappointment. He thought he could have every sneaker ever made, even though he hadn't actually earned any of them. "He's not regular," she would tell me when I asked why he needed another new pair. "He's your son." She had already established a pattern that you didn't have to work for something to get it. Marquise was just following her lead. I didn't want that sense of entitlement to become a core part of who he was. I was determined to help him learn that he would actually be much happier when he worked for the things he wanted, that their value would increase exponentially. One day I was driving through Harlem when I noticed that a sneaker store was going out of business on 125th Street. My mind immediately flashed to my son. Marquise loves sneakers, so I pulled over to see if I can grab him a couple of pairs on the cheap. Being naturally inquisitive, I asked the owner why he was going out of business if sneakers were so hot. He explained that he picked the wrong location and never got enough foot traffic to make it work. My mind started clicking. Say, how much do you pay for a pair of Air Force Ones, I asked. About $40, he told me. And how much you sell them for? About $80. That seemed like a pretty solid profit margin to me. What are you going to do with all these Air Forces now? I asked. I don't know, he said. Probably just stash them in my basement till I figure out my next move. I tell you what, I told him. I'm going to buy the rest of the inventory from you right now at cost. The guy jumped at my offer. Suddenly, I was the new owner of a couple hundred pairs of Nikes. I hatched a plan. Marquise was in Atlanta, where I knew storage space was cheap. I would ship the sneakers down to him, where he could put them in a warehouse. Instead of opening up a brick-and-mortar shop, which would have taken a lot of investment, and depended on foot traffic, he could set up an internet site selling sneakers, what is referred to as direct-to-consumer sales. All it would require would be for him to run the site and maybe hire a friend to manage the warehouse side of things. The idea felt like a winner. As soon as I left the shop, I called up my son. Yo, Marquise, you know how you always been fascinated with shoes? I asked. Well, I just figured out a way you can afford them yourself and start to earn a little money of your own, too. I broke down the whole plan for him. I explained how it was a great opportunity that would not only support his passion, but allow him to get a nuts and bolts understanding of how business works. This is a layup, I told him. Not too many stores get to start off with free inventory. You could really do something with this. If you're truly passionate about sneakers, this is the time to show it. Marquise said all the right things on the phone, how excited he was and how it sounded like a great opportunity. So I had the shoes shipped down to Atlanta. Then I never heard from him about it again. Weeks, then months passed.
And how
Finally, one day,
he dropped
his
the
mother
ball.
called me and announced
Now,
that
I
she
don't
and
blame
Marquise been talking.
Marquez completely
Instead of an online
because he
sneaker
was
store,
young and
they
dumb at the
wanted to
time.
open a clothing
I
boutique in
blame the
Atlanta.
mother because
I
she
couldn't
should have
believe what I was
guided her
hearing.
child
The
into
plan I envisioned
success.
didn't include her.
Here's
I
what
wanted
50
our
got
son
to
to
say.
learn how to be
Zeroing on
responsible for
50
himself.
Cent, for
By injecting
instance.
herself into the mix,
Now,
she
this
was
is a
just trying to
young
keep
man
him a
who
boy
had
a little
so
longer.
much
I still wanted
adversities
Marquise to get
thrown
some
at him
experience, so
early
I
on in
said,
his life,
sure,
and
let me
he,
know when you guys want to do something.
against all
But of course, their
odds,
boutique never went
made
anywhere.
something of his
And the
life.
online sneaker shop didn't either.
And when it
My issue
came
with
to his
Marquise wasn't that
son
he
and
wanted all
how
those
his son
sneakers.
just wants
When I
everything
was a kid, I
handed
wanted
to
sneakers
him,
too.
I don't
The
think his
difference is
son
that
is
I was
getting it.
willing, make
That
that
his
determined,
father wants the
to do
best
the
for
work
him,
necessary to obtain them.
but his father
I
wants
wouldn't
him
for a
to
second
know
want
what it
Marquise
is
to
to
have to
work.
resort to the type of work I put in
I'm going
to
to tell
get
you
my
guys
kicks.
something.
At the
The
time, I
money that
perceived
50
selling
Cent
drugs as the only
have,
viable option in my environment. So I pursued it.
he's going to leave
Marquise has so many more
a
options in
lot
front
of
of him
it to
than I
his
ever had.
children because
I
that's
just
his
needed to see him
legacy.
pick one and put in the work.
But that
There's
firstborn,
nothing wrong with wanting
Marquise,
things.
is not
The
playing
sense
his
of want
cards
can be a
right.
tremendous
He
motivation tool.
thinks
Feeling
he's
like you want
supposed
more
to
than
have
what you
these
have
things
is
because
what
he's
keeps
the
us from getting
child of
complacent.
50 Cent.
I've
But
pretty
that's
much
not
got it
how it
all,
works. I
but
agree
I
with
never feel
50
like I do.
100%,
When I was younger, I always
101%.
wanted more.
That, yes, I got it like that. But I want you to put in the work, not as hard as I did, but show me that you are going for yours. Now, when 50 tried to set him up in his own business and he turned it down, I think that was a sign to 50 that his boy was like his mama. He just wants a handout. For the same reason, when 50 was telling his baby mama, Marquis' mother, to do something with her life, he don't want a woman around him just sponging off of him. You got to have a goal, a career of your own. It's the same premise that he's got with Marquis. He does not want his son just sitting around watching him make the money and putting his hand out for a handout. He wants his child to have more goals than that, more aspirations. Okay? He wants him to succeed in his own right and to become his own man, standing on his own 2 feet. And when he makes those millions, it's going to be of his own merit. Of course, when 50 dies, he would leave money to his children, but he wants his children to be successful with his guidance. But Marquez all due to his mother was not going for it. Here's what 50 got to say.
As I grow older, the one thing that becomes clearer to me each and every day is that I don't owe anyone a thing, and neither do you. I've seen a lot of people pollute their potential after sipping from the well of entitlement. This is certainly true of many of the people I've been associated with over the years, even my own son. What they need to understand is that you should never feel like the world owes you anything. It doesn't. You must accept that it's all on you. That might seem like a very cynical way to view the world, but I would argue that it's actually liberating. You can only feel betrayal when you feel like you're owed something from someone. You can only feel resentment when you had expectations for assistance. When you accept that it's all on you, only then can you finally be free to focus 100% on being the best version of yourself.
And you know, over the years, guys, I have read about cases where millionaires have left all their money to charity because their family members felt entitled, as though they were supposed to leave them this money because they are a family member. And they didn't do anything to show that person who is a millionaire that they're worthy of that money. They didn't do any charity work. They didn't try to work for themselves. They didn't try to set themselves up in any business. All they did all their lives was to sit back, collect their little allowance, and hope that the person who's the millionaire died and left them the money. And I think 50 Cent has set an example for his son. You have to work to get it. It is not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. That's what you call tough love. But to me, it's not tough enough because at least he was given enough money growing up as a child, the $6,700, to buy all the necessities. We see him over the years. This Marquis saw him over the years and all the chains and the flashy stuff and the fur coats, etc. And instead of him taking that money and saying, you know what, let me show my father that I can handle money, that he can be proud of me, that I'm not just about flaunting and flashing. I think 50 would have respected it, and he would have brought him into his circle. But Marquis is so disrespectful. How can you go around that as a father and treat him Marquis is forgetting that his father is from the streets and he's not going to tolerate but so much behavior from him. He's not going to take the disrespect. And if he wants to play hardball, I believe 50 is willing to go all the way to the grave. Okay? If Marquis thinks that his father is going to quiver or give in and give him all this money and he's not showing him that he's willing to work, then he got another thing coming. Because I believe 50 is going to go to his grave and give his money to the other child, because he does have a second son. So let's continue to listen to what 50 had to say to Marquis.
He'd been given every advantage in the world, far beyond most kids born in the ghetto. But he still feels like he's been somehow cheated or robbed by me. It's a scenario I never imagined I'd find myself in with my firstborn child. But here we are. Entitlement creates resentment. There have been a lot of disappointing moments in my relationship with Marquis over the past few years, but the lowest was when I saw him post a picture of himself with Kyle McGriff, the son of Kenneth Supreme McGriff. Without rehashing too much bad history, Kenneth McGriff was one of the biggest drug dealers in Queens, and the man the authorities believe was behind the attempt on my life. So by posing with his son, Marquis was basically co-signing an individual who might have tried to have his father killed. I had known Marquis resented me for a while, but I never imagined he would hate me so much that he'd allow himself to be used as a prop by my enemy. Someone recently sent me a quote from Benjamin Franklin that really resonated with me. Franklin's son had sided with the British in the Revolutionary War, despite the fact that his father was one of the leaders of the revolution. It messed with Ben Franklin for the rest of his life. He wrote, "Nothing has ever hurt me so much and affected me with such keen sensation as to find myself deserted in my old age by my only son. And not only deserted, but to find him taking up arms against me, in a cause wherein my good fame, fortune, and life were all at stake.
Now, that is true about Benjamin Franklin. His elder son, he never forgave his son for taking up arms against him. He all but cut William out of his will, arguing that he acted against me in the late war, and that will account for me leaving him no more of an estate that he endeavored to deprive me of. In other words, Benjamin said, listen, my son sided with the British against me in the Revolutionary War. So if I had lost that war, all my money, my profits, my estate would be in the arms of the enemy. So I'm going to do to him what he intended to do to me, to leave me broke without my estate. So I'm not going to leave him nothing. They were divided when it came to the American Revolutionary War. Franklin was on one side and his son was on the other side. So Franklin's son sided with Great Britain and he said no to independence. So Franklin applied that tough love and said, I'm cutting him completely out of my will. So guys, sometimes it's very hard, but sometimes that's what you got to do when you see your own flesh and blood is your enemy. So I totally get it, where 50 is coming from.
Marquise might not have been literally taking up arms against me, but he was standing next to the son of someone who might have. I could recognize Franklin's pain. I spent a lot of time searching my soul, trying to understand what could make a son forsake his father like that. I've tried to put myself in Marquise's shoes. Just as he doesn't know what it's like to grow up under the circumstances I did, I don't know what it was like to grow up as the son of 50 Cent. Certainly on the surface, he had everything he wanted. But there must have been pressures and insecurities from being my son that I can't identify with.
Honestly, I don't think it was pressures, but maybe insecurities that he couldn't measure up. And maybe he was being teased by the kids at school that your father is this big star. He's not putting you in his movies. How come you have last year's sneakers? You know, I can understand the pressures. But 50 Cent said that he didn't have to worry about the latest sneakers because as soon as they came out, the mother would go get them. So what's left? Greed. He just wanted more. The more he got, the more he wanted. That's what I see.
I accept that. I still can't see how those pressures and insecurities will force a child to go against his own father, especially a father who has provided everything for him. As I go over our relationship in my mind, the only answer that I can come up with is that I actually might have done too much for Marquise.
50 is scratching his head trying to figure out where he went wrong and how come his son is not thankful. And I'm going to tell you what it is, Mr. 50 Cent. Your son feels as though he shouldn't be working like the mother told you. The mother told you you made it so nobody got to work. He feels as though he should be in the latest everything. He should have a whole lot of it too. 20 to 50 pairs of sneakers every season. The fur coats and the bling out chains and the cars. That's how he feels because that's how his mother feels. His mother raised him. Remember, folks, his mother filed a $50 million lawsuit against 50 Cent because she said, and she had the nerve to say this actually, she said that he promised to take care of her for life. Now, that sounds to me like pillow talk. You know, you say anything when you're in that lovey-dovey mood and situation, but you don't mean that crap. Who is going to take care of you for life and you laying up in a bed with another man? Are you mad? Are you serious? So I know they laughed her out of court. That's why that lawsuit didn't go anywhere.
How do you make a privileged child feel deprived or angry? I guess by getting him whatever he wants.
50 is very correct with that assessment. If you give a child everything they want, they're going to be angry that you didn't get them 2 of it or 3 of it, or in every color. In other words, you can't please them. So you got to decide what you're going to give them and do not give them everything.
Like many kids from his generation, Marquise has always been into sneakers. Because he's my son, he couldn't just rock any old sneakers either. If a new pair of Jordans came out, he had to have them right away. If Marquise asked for a pair of Jordans on Monday, his mother would make sure they were on his feet by Tuesday.
I hope 50 is not going around blaming himself for how his son turned out, because he didn't raise his son. The mother did. So any blame is to be laid at the mother's feet.
It still didn't make him happy. Instead of being excited to rock his new pair of Jordans, all Marquise could think about was all of the retro Jordans he didn't have. All the different flyaways and colors that weren't in his closet. When he should have felt gratification, all he really felt was disappointment. I could not relate. The kid didn't have a job, but somehow wanted to collect $300 sneakers, and then still felt unhappy when he actually got them? His entire mindset was alien to me. I have to believe his mother was behind his disappointment.
Exactly. What Marquise has become is a direct result of how he was raised by his mother, because that is his mother's mindset. Nobody got to work. You just got to put your hand out and 50 cents is going to give you everything, because he's got it like that. He's got the money. So Marquise believes the same thing.
He thought he could have every sneaker ever made, even though he hadn't actually earned any of them. He's not regular, she would tell me when I asked why he needed another new pair. He's your son. She had already established a pattern that you didn't have to work for something to get it. Marquise was just following her lead.
Exactly. When you have a lazy-ass woman raising a child, the child is going to end up being lazy-ass just like her.
I didn't want that sense of entitlement to become a core part of who he was. I was determined to help him learn that he would actually be much happier when he worked for the things he wanted, that their value would increase exponentially.
50 is not the only person going through this. It's a lot of parents who go through the same thing. They try to instill certain values in the child, but when they go back home to the other parent that's raising them, they completely brainwash them. So by the time you get them every other weekend or every weekend, you can't turn them around, because they're being brainwashed by the other parent because they have more of their time.
One day I was driving through Harlem when I noticed that a sneaker store was going out of business on 125th Street. My mind immediately flashed to my son. Marquise loves sneakers, so I pulled over to see if I can grab him a couple of pairs on the cheap. Being naturally inquisitive, I asked the owner why he was going out of business if sneakers were so hot. He explained that he picked the wrong location and never got enough foot traffic to make it work. My mind started clicking. Say, how much do you pay for a pair of Air Force Ones, I asked. About $40, he told me. And how much you sell them for? About $80. That seemed like a pretty solid profit margin to me. What are you going to do with all these Air Forces now? I asked. I don't know, he said. Probably just stash them in my basement till I figure out my next move. I tell you what, I told him. I'm going to buy the rest of the inventory from you right now at cost. The guy jumped at my offer. Suddenly, I was the new owner of a couple hundred pairs of Nikes. I hatched a plan. Marquise was in Atlanta, where I knew storage space was cheap. I would ship the sneakers down to him, where he could put them in a warehouse. Instead of opening up a brick-and-mortar shop, which would have taken a lot of investment, and depended on foot traffic, he could set up an internet site selling sneakers, what is referred to as direct-to-consumer sales. All it would require would be for him to run the site and maybe hire a friend to manage the warehouse side of things. The idea felt like a winner. As soon as I left the shop, I called up my son. Yo, Marquise, you know how you always been fascinated with shoes? I asked. Well, I just figured out a way you can afford them yourself and start to earn a little money of your own, too. I broke down the whole plan for him. I explained how it was a great opportunity that would not only support his passion, but allow him to get a nuts and bolts understanding of how business works. This is a layup, I told him. Not too many stores get to start off with free inventory.
That's right, free inventory. How many people would really jump at that opportunity? But Marquis' mother could not see the bigger picture. All she saw was the millions that I guess she wanted. This is all alleged. And so she steered her son in the wrong direction. And I guess she wanted to open up a boutique for herself. But she could have told 50 that, and he would have financed that boutique. Instead, she steered her son away from the prize. And that is what you call selfishness, folks. because her son would have been sitting pretty today, all because she wanted to open up a boutique. She steered it in that direction instead of doing it separate. She could have opened up her boutique and this child could have still had his sneaker company. So what she essentially did was to steal his blessing, block his blessing.
You could really do something with this. If you're truly passionate about sneakers, this is the time to show it. Marquise said all the right things on the phone, how excited he was and how it sounded like a great opportunity. So I had the shoes shipped down to Atlanta. Then I never heard from him about it again. Weeks and months passed. Finally, one day, his mother called me and announced that she and Marquise been talking.
Now that sounds like if that was her vision. That's what she liked. That's what she wanted. A young man who is into sneakers would prefer to open up a sneaker company, not an online boutique for ladies and, all that crap.
Instead of an online sneaker store, they wanted to open a clothing boutique in Atlanta. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The plan I envisioned didn't include her.
So 50 said the vision did not include her, but I think that's why she changed his vision and brainwashed the child, Marquise, into this online boutique because she wanted to interject herself. It's not that she wanted to keep him a boy. She wanted to be a part of whatever it was that he was involved in. But she could have done that with the sneaker business. She could have been the manager while he is the owner.
I wanted our son to learn how to be responsible for himself. By injecting herself into the mix, she was just trying to keep him a boy a little longer. I still wanted Marquise to get some experience, so I said, sure, let me know when you guys want to do something. But of course, their boutique never went anywhere. And the online sneaker shop didn't either.
That's pretty sad. Actually, that's really a sad story, because here it is. 50 had brought all the inventory from this guy going out of business, all the sneakers, shipped it down to Atlanta, put in a warehouse. All Marquise had to do was sell the sneakers because he had the inventory already. He didn't have to go looking to buy any sneakers, any inventory. So, when you want what people have and you don't want to work for yourself or work hard to achieve what the other person have through your own sweat, this is what happens. The mama dropped the ball. She raised this child to be lazy, don't want nothing for himself. I think 50 said he's in college now, but what do people go to college for? People go to college to get rich so they can get a better job and make money. He could have been doing that in his early life. He didn't even have to go to college unless he wanted to. People go to college when they're rich to enhance their knowledge, their education, not because they have to, because they want to. Marquise could have been in the same position. Again, I'm not blaming him because he was a child. The mama was the adult, so it was up to her to guide him in the right direction. The opportunity was there. The doors opened up. She slammed it. YouTubers, drop it in the comment section what you feel about 50 opening up about Marquise and why he is now distant from them and they have this estranged relationship. I'm over and out. Turn on your notification bells. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and drop your comments in the comment section. Thank you for watching.